Fire Emblem Echoes might have my least favorite maps in the entire series. It has tedious dungeon crawling, it has endlessly respawning enemies, it has enemies with full map teleportation.
Oh my god, I hate this game.
It has somehow become the Fire Emblem game that sticks with me to this day.
On an ocean of stars, lo, an angel they see, untouched by the war that they waged.
Stories have always used character relationships to help us understand ourselves. Not just what love feels like, but really what it asks of us. Ancient myths did it, Shakespeare did it, modern romance stories have had a huge resurgence because they're hitting on the same exact points. Fire Emblem games do that as well, while also simultaneously asking you who you want to marry out of 40-something very attractive anime bachelors and bachelorettes. She's cute, right? She's also your cousin. Fire Emblem Echoes does the same thing without the matchmaker part. Beneath the fantasy setting, the magic, the dragons, the war, we have a story about the different ways people love, fail, trust, and lose themselves. I've loved Fire Emblem since I was a kid, and if anyone ever asked me who my favorite character from Fire Emblem was, I'd answer immediately, Berkut. Now if you ask me why, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't remember the details, what he did, what he said. Maybe some plot relevance I vaguely remember, and, well, one specific line.
Have mercy, sire! Your Excellency! Uncle!
So after almost a decade, I replayed Fire Emblem Echoes from beginning to end, trying to remember my reason for liking Berkut. At least, I thought I was just trying to remember Berkut. Instead, I actually remembered why I loved the writing and the characters of Echoes in their entirety. Now don't get me wrong, Shadows of Valentia is by no means a perfect game. In fact, I was slapping my head against some maps for upwards of 40 minutes, hitting the turn wheel button over and over again, because why is it that when I get one person to safety, another person gets hit by a 2% crit chance? But that's not what I'm here to focus on. I came back because I remembered one character, and I'm determined to figure out why I was so drawn to him in the first place. After replaying the game, I realized I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been normalized in modern Fire Emblem titles, or was especially popularized during the 3DS era games: romance. Or more broadly, I wanted to look at the way Echoes writes people, and actual human relationships, since that's what ended up standing out to me this second time through. Now, in the 3DS era of Fire Emblem games, it's not really a secret that something kind of cool and appealing of the game was getting to play matchmaker with your entire army. Almost any character can get with any other character, and this results in making a child soldier that you enlist to die for you. It's a really beautiful family dynamic. But whereas Awakening and Fates gamified and turned romance into a mechanic, Echoes used it as characterization.
But then again, roses with thorns are the ones I enjoy tending best.
And does
What surprised me during my replay was that every major relationship in Echoes seemed to explore a different aspect of relationships. Some are built on trust,
How did it end up like this?
some on security,
Mathilda!
some based on authenticity,
to a woman and ply her with a few compliments?
some even focused on identity.
So I'm ready to kill in your name.
Together, they paint a picture of what it means to love another person, not perfectly, but honestly. And then by the end of the game, Echoes introduces a relationship that ties it all together, and even challenges everything about it. Alm Celica are our protagonists. Both born with the brand, they were prophesized to be the fated heroes of Valentia. Despite their circumstances and fate bringing them together for a greater goal, the most important aspect we see from their relationship isn't what feels like unconditional love, but rather the importance of trust. Close to the end of Part 2, Alm and Celica reunite. Not having seen each other for close to 10 years, they're older, wiser. They still hold the same fondness for each other since they were children, but they also carry a lot more responsibility.
Alm being the leader of the Deliverance, and Celica on her journey to seek help from their goddess Milla. Both carry the weight of their people, wanting to help and save others, but their methods are different. The end of part 2 isn't just a heartwarming reunion. They run to each other and embrace. You feel the buildup of their near decade-long separation get released, but just as quickly, they start to see what path the other person has chosen.
Celica chastises Alm for leading the Deliverance and essentially going to war with Rigel, not solely because she believes war is bad, people fighting is bad, but really, she just wants Alm to be safe. On the other side, Alm wants Celica to see where he's coming from. He fights because he doesn't want more people to suffer. But they don't get to that point of understanding each other before they have a teary separation, both ultimately determined to save Valentia their own way.
Damn it all.
I think a lot of us have had an argument like this at some point in our lives. Not the kind where you're trying to win or be right for the sake of it, but one where you're convinced you're trying to protect or help the other person. Maybe it's between parents and their children, two close friends, maybe siblings. These are often the hardest disagreements because it's not an argument out of malice or hate, but one born from love. And it's exactly what we see here. Celica and Alm aren't angry with each other because they don't love each other anymore. They're upset, they argue, because they do love each other. Their frustration was born from caring. Shortly after they part ways, we even see their immediate regret in the interaction. They didn't want to say harsh words or leave on a bad note. Ultimately, they disagreed. They just wanted to protect the other person, but they didn't trust the other's choice immediately. Alm and Celica never fully solved their disagreement. They don't get the chance to convince each other. They don't suddenly agree. In fact, the next time they physically meet each other is in the final act of the game. Instead, they chose to believe that the other is acting out of genuine love. We see this as the game goes on, and they do everything in their power to support and help the other person on their journey. Regardless of their differences, they were supportive. They trusted each other in the end. What we see in Echoes is that it doesn't portray love as perfect understanding, but instead it's the willingness to keep reaching back toward the other person. After mistakes or arguments, it's not about who's right or wrong, but trusting the other person and supporting them. It's surprisingly common for people to feel threatened when someone close to them succeeds. Whether it's a partner earning more money, a coworker getting promoted before you, someone being more talented in a shared hobby. Insecurity has ended plenty of real relationships before they've had a chance to grow. Clive and Mathilda don't fall into that trap. During one of their final support conversations, Mathilda confesses something that's been weighing on her. She's heard people whispering that she's surpassed Clive on the battlefield, and she feels ashamed. Not because she believes she's done anything wrong, but because she thinks she's embarrassed the man she loves. In her mind, Clive is her lord. He's supposed to be the great knight. She's supposed to stand beside him, not eclipse him. Clive responds in a way that breaks that entire fear down.
Yeah, I will never be your lord, and your exploits bring me naught but pride. If I want to outshine you, then I must earn it by my own hand. Don't you dare change. I love you exactly as you are.
Those words, I love you exactly as you are. That's the heart of Clive and Mathilda's relationship. Clive doesn't see Mathilda's skills as something that diminish or take away from him. These skills are exactly why he loves her. There's no reason for her to hide it. Clive isn't just confident in himself. He's secure in himself. Secure enough that the achievements of the woman he loves never feel like a threat. He would do everything he can to reassure her that she should never change. Love at first sight is one of the most common ideas in romance stories. Someone sees another person, their heart skips a beat, and they just know. But Echoes takes it a step further and asks, can you really love someone you don't actually know? When Gray meets Clair, he immediately falls for her. She's beautiful, noble. He's never met someone like her in all his years living in small and secluded Ram Village. The thing is, Gray doesn't know anything about Clair. He knows her reputation, he knows her appearance, he knows what she represents. But by the time he starts hitting her with the I love yous He hasn't even talked to her, really.
Yeah, but I do love you.
No, you do not. You want me. You intend to have me. But not at the expense of your pride.
What we see here is that Claire isn't upset by the fact that Gray finds her attractive. She's not rejecting Gray explicitly because she doesn't like him either. Rather, she doesn't like the way he's approaching her. In the first few supports, Gray already decided what Claire he's in love with, without even getting to know her.
And what of my feelings? Do I not deserve better than these trite gambits of yours? My heart belongs to the man who takes time to know me before he loves me. Now never speak to me again.
Claire.
In this support conversation, Claire shows us that being admired isn't the same as being understood. Claire wants something real, something authentic. This is something people experience in the real world too. Sometimes we aren't attracted to a person as they are. We're attracted to the version of them we've created in our own minds. The job title, the reputation, the appearance, the idea of who they could be, maybe what they could represent for us. But a real relationship requires letting that image fall away and seeing the actual person and getting to know them.
The unfortunate part is that Echoes doesn't spend much time showing us this change. Most of Gray's growth happens after the events of the game, in his epilogue, rather than on screen. But I still think that ending is meaningful. He doesn't win Claire's heart by refusing to give up or by doing the same thing as before. He wins it by doing the one thing she asked of him from the beginning, taking the time to know her, to build a real and authentic connection. Faye is an entirely original character to Shadows of Valentia, not existing in the original Gaiden, yet she still serves a unique purpose, learning what happens when love becomes more than an emotion, when it becomes someone's identity. Faye is deeply devoted to Alm. Her entire purpose for going to war and fighting an entire empire is for Alm. In fact, you can't talk about Faye without talking about Alm. Faye doesn't just love Alm, she defines herself through him. She isn't Faye the villager. She isn't Faye a member of the Deliverance. She's Faye, Alm's biggest supporter. That's her identity. Another person has become her identity. Adding some layers to this, Echoes doesn't portray this as something completely impossible to overcome. When Silk enters her life, Faye initially rejects the idea of friendship. She doesn't want to talk about herself. She wants to talk about Alm. But slowly, Silk gives Faye something she didn't realize she needed. A relationship where she exists as her own person.
Oh, it's all right. It's just nice to feel missed.
This is something that many people can experience in their lives, especially when they're young. Sometimes a person, a relationship, or even different ideas become such a huge part of our lives that we stop thinking about who we are outside of it. A partner, a friend, a career, a passion. All of these things combine to bring meaning to our lives. None of these things should replace the person who you are outside of them. That's the tragedy of Faye. Her love for Alm is genuine. Her devotion is genuine. But somewhere along the way, she loses sight of who Faye is without him. Love should add to who we are. It should never erase us. All these relationships and Echoes answer the question, what does love require? Alm and Celica show trust. They might not understand each other's decisions, but they believe in each other. Clive and Mathilda show us trust. Loving someone means celebrating their success, not feeling threatened by it. Clair shows Gray that love requires authenticity. Not loving an image of someone, but taking the time to understand who they really are. And Faye shows us the danger of losing ourselves in another person. Love can bring meaning to our lives, but it can't replace who we are. But there's one more character, one more pair that asks, what happens when love can't provide these things? Berkut is the most tragic character in Shadows of Valentia. Unlike the other characters we've looked at so far, love doesn't solve the heart of the issue. The problem isn't that he doesn't love Rinea. He does. He seems to immediately be taken by her when they first meet. The tragedy here is that Berkut has built his entire identity around the idea that he must first prove that he is worthy of love, rather than believing he already is. We see this countless times throughout the game, and especially in comparison to Alm. Berkut hates Alm, not strictly because he is the enemy, but because Alm represents everything that Berkut had to fight for. Berkut was a believer that his birth, status, and achievements would equate to his worth. Alm was a direct contradiction to everything he believed in. Alm had no noble upbringing, no royal training, no expectation for greatness. Despite all of this, Alm is recognized as a capable leader and the true heir to Regel's throne. Berkut's entire life, he grew up believing that he was the successor. He had to prove he was suited to be king, and then Alm showed up, his existence ripping this meaning away from Berkut. Alm threatened Berkut's identity. Berkut is in shambles, fighting to prove his worth to himself. Throughout all of this, there was one person who stood by Berkut no matter what, loved him no matter what. Rinea.
To stand at your side is all I've ever desired. I don't care if you're the Emperor or a swineherd, so long as we... Berkut?
To her, Berkut is not his title. He isn't someone who needs to prove anything. She loves him exactly as he is. And just as Clive would say to Mathilda, I'm sure she would say,
I love you exactly as you are.
but can someone accept love if they don't believe they deserve it? Berkut can't separate the ideas of I am loved from I am successful. To him, these two are the same thing. If I haven't proven my worth, I don't deserve to be loved. I can only be loved if I have proven my worth. As the game comes closer to its climax, Alm and the Deliverance have defeated the King of Regel, Emperor Rudolph. For all intents and purposes, Regel has been defeated. Act 5 doesn't focus solely on the fight against Duma though. In fact, the first boss to stand in the player's way is Berkut.
Silence.
What?
Listen to you. Offering mercy and trite platitudes from on high. We're together. Us. Don't make me laugh. Strength isn't lent, it's taken. Pride from the grip of your dead foes.
At this point, Berkut has lost nearly everything. His belief in himself challenged, his birthright almost meaningless. The tragedy is that Rinea offered Berkut exactly what he spent his entire life searching for. Someone who sees him, someone who chooses him, someone who loves him without him needing to be a king. Rinea never gave up on him or thought any less of him, but in that moment, he rejected her love, her words, her presence. He couldn't accept Rinea's unconditional love because accepting it would mean admitting that he was already enough, something he didn't believe. Rinea offered Berkut something even simpler. She accepted him. But after all Berkut went through, love alone wasn't enough. What Berkut was looking for was acceptance. The thing is, Rinea accepted him. The only person who didn't accept him was himself. After nearly a decade, I came back to Fire Emblem Echoes, remembering only my love for the character Berkut. It was what stuck with me after all this time. But after replaying it, I realized maybe why this game landed with me subconsciously. The game has plenty of relationships and well-written characters, but it's not a story about love or just another fantasy Fire Emblem epic. Beneath that surface is a game that shows what it truly means to be human. Alm Celica showed me the ability to trust without needing to control. Clive and Mathilda showed me what it means to be happy for someone else, to have security in oneself. Gray let go of this shallow idea he had for the woman he idealized, and he got to appreciate Clair for who she really was. He grew to have a real, authentic love for her. Faye showed me what it means to lose yourself, lose your identity when you become so invested in something. Berkut showed me that love and acceptance doesn't start with other people. It starts with ourselves. Maybe that's why Berkut stayed with me for all these years. I thought I remembered him because of his tragedy. but I think I remembered him because he made me understand something personal about myself. Loving someone else means very little if you can't also learn to accept yourself. This game isn't perfect, but it does understand people.
You're right. You were always right. The moment I turned to a power beyond myself, the man you loved was dead. Rinea, forgive me. If you'll have me, I'd be honored to set out with you.